controversial development this morning. So President Trump, when reacting to the riots and the protests in Minneapolis, tweeted this. He says, "I cannot stand back and watch this happen to a great American city, Minneapolis, a total lack of leadership. Either the very weak radical left Mayor Jacob Frey get his act together and bring the city under control, or I will send in the National Guard and get the job done right." With a follow-up tweet saying, "These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. I just spoke to Governor Tim Walz, and I told him the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty, and we will assume control, but when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you." So the controversy of that tweet is that instead of letting the tweet speak for itself, what happened is that Twitter, let's throw up the picture here of the second one, that shows that the tweet itself was censored, saying this tweet violated Twitter rules about glorifying violence. However, Twitter has determined that it may be in the public interest for the tweet in order to remain accessible, basically making it so you have to click on a thing that says view. Now, look, you can hate the president's tweet, you can find it unconscionable, all of that. However, there were a lot of similar tweets that I saw all across my timeline from many people on the left justifying the violence, saying, hey, this is what happens whenever you don't give us justice, redress, don't go out, let the protesters burn the city to the ground. I don't see any of their tweets censored. And by the way, I don't think they should be. It is a free country. I think if you want to say that that violence is completely justified, be my guest. But in coming and trying to do this whole censorship, even with the censorship, I mean, they're basically they're allowing the public to still view it, but only if they choose to do so. So are you better off if you can still access it? Just the entire way that they've decided to do this, they need to pick or not.
Right.
Either take the Twitter account down or don't. If it exists, let it be and let everybody else be.
Right.
Within the realms of reasonable speech.
Right. And I do find this tweet to be outrageous coming from the President of the United States. I find it to be unconscionable. I find it to be deeply irresponsible. But I agree with you. Look, to me, so we covered earlier in the week, was that just yesterday that we covered the tweets that the president had about mail-in balloting?
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, okay. Mail-in balloting,
right.
And then Twitter attaches this fact-check type statement, which to me is clearly editorializing, okay?
No question.
I think this falls a little bit more under terms of service, where if you were going to apply it to everyone across the board, then I think you could have more of a justification around that, even though I'm still uncomfortable with that, because exactly like you say, anyone who has what could be considered a radical view, a view that's outside of the Washington Post or New York Times or CNN sort of mainline establishment view, should be uncomfortable with this type of censorship, period. But what really exacerbates it is when you are creating a policy specifically for one person. I mean, look, conservatives have been sort of inventing this whole thing about how they're, overwhelmingly censored, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories around that I don't think, frankly, have ever been fully justified by facts, data, and evidence. But you've just blatantly proved their point.
Clear. Yeah.
You've just blatantly proved they created a specific policy for one person that doesn't even seem to really be applied to other heads of state around the world. For example, if you want to say, okay, well, he's the president, so maybe he should get different treatment, and okay, I'm open to that. But you have just completely fed into the conservative narrative of what exactly is going on.
Well, now it's true. That's the thing. I was skeptical of it as well. I'm on the right. I was like, some of this is BS. But the guy in charge of this policy, just tweeted against Trump, says that he's has said that the Midwest are bad people for voting for, quote, a racist tangerine. I mean, his politics are very, very clear.
He called Mitch McConnell a bag of farts.
A bag of farts, which I thought was funny. So a Silicon Valley Hillary bot is the one who's in charge of all of this. And look, the Ayatollah gets to tweet. Look, this is the thing. I'm a radical when it comes to this. It is better to have all of these world leaders tweeting whatever they want and letting all of us assess that in the context. So Twitter, I believe, had actually taken down one of Bolsonaro's tweets about coronavirus, citing coronavirus misinformation. Isn't it better to allow the evidence to stand that head of state was promoting coronavirus misinformation so that democracy can then vote him out if they would like to?
Right. Well, that's why journalists exist.
Yes.
To put this in context, to explain what's reality, what's not. And, look, we're fairly critical of a lot of journalists here, but that is the whole idea around that institution. It's also a very condescending view to think that people can't process that information, as you said, and make their own judgments about it, that you have to protect them from it, that you have to bury it behind this like warning label.
It's infantile.
It is infantile. And then the other part is like the liberal fantasy that somehow this is going to hurt Trump. Right? You're not hurting. This is not resistance.
Yeah.
You're not hurting Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. Like, I don't like that. You don't like that.
Yeah.
But that's reality. And so his words, wherever they occur, whether it's on television, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, wherever it is, are in fact news, are in fact newsworthy, and they are coming from the President of the United States. The American people should know what he is saying, especially in a moment like this.
His words matter, Joe Biden's words matter, everybody's words matter. All of them should be able to tweet. I'm really radical when it comes to world leaders. I think they should be able to tweet whatever they want because their stuff needs to be evaluated in the context of our body politics, of our democracy. If you think the tweet is outrageous, use it in every campaign ad that you ever have. Bring it up in your speech. Say the President of the United States tweet this beneath the dignity of the office, and if the American people don't care, then that's on them, and it's not on you. It's not on Twitter. You cannot force people to change their opinion. Their opinion will not change as a result of this entire action.
It's kind of a God complex thing where you think
exactly
that by putting Twitter's imprimatur around what you should think about this tweet, or whether it's inbounds, that's going to change people's minds, and it's just not. I mean, look, I have my views of the tweet, which I express. I think it is outrageous, and I'm not one to, clutch my pearls and like wring my hands and get out the smelling salts around the president's tweets generally, and we usually don't cover them that much here, frankly, because most of the media is obsessed with them. I think this one is really important. I think it's outrageous. I think it creates a volatile and makes the situation much worse. I also think the American people should see it on Twitter and let them judge for themselves.
And you were able to editorialize that on this open platform, and we should not be able to. We should never be censored for wanting to criticize one politician or the other. I mean, what are we supposed to do? Are we going to start seeing things? And like I said, then at least equally apply the policy. If it's going to be in terms of service, the biggest way of conservative bias as it manifests, the part I've always absolutely believed is true, is that the application of the rules are always towards one group and not towards the other, disproportionately to people on the right. This affirms it definitively for all time. And I'm telling you, the biggest backlash that these people could have ever seen coming is coming, because now there is congressional impetus in order to reform Section 230, which is what I covered yesterday around the Communications Decency Act, mandating that they act like a platform or they're going to lose their special status. There is a whole host of action that's being cooked up in Congress, in the White House, and others. And look, this is really a question. Do you want unaccountable tech oligarchs determining your political discourse or not? I want to live in a free country, and I recognize exactly what this is all about.
All right, more rising for you after this.